Hi folks, welcome to yet another episode of Photo Australia. In response to a question and a comment made recently about revisiting old photos, and that got Brad and I thinking, and that's a dangerous thing. So what we've done is we've gone back into the archives, chased out the spiders, and we've come up with a few images that are very old images, and we're going to rework them in different software, different ways, hopefully applying a little bit of the knowledge we've gained from when we first did this. So you'll see the original processed version of this.
This is the original photo. If I can grab the mouse, thanks, Grant. And let me just get my ugly mug off of there. So this is the original photo that we're going to work on. So when was this roughly taken, Grant?
This was taken in 2009. If you remember the interview we had recently with Jim Camozzi. Well, Jim was standing on my left-hand side here, and the chap we referred to in that interview, Dave, was standing to my right-hand side. Dave was just about to drop his camera off the tripod at this point. This was a long exposure session we were doing with Mark Langiel, our pro who was hosting the workshop, and we just started taking these photos, and I'd set my timer running, my bulb exposure was happening here, and this motorcycle and sidecar entered from right of screen, and at walking pace putted through the entire shot, illuminating that for you. You can just see his tail light at the left-hand, extreme left of the image. That's the tail light of the motorbike. And it's pure fluke, Brad. This was not set up. It was not intentional. We were actually trying to do star trails with that thunderstorm way off in the distance. So on the EXIF, I'll probably tell you, this was a 90-second exposure at this point in time.
All right. Well, what we're going to do is I will now just exit out of that. And I'm going to go over to your screen. So what we're going to attempt, that's how Grant originally processed it. Now we're going to have a go at reprocessing from the original. So if I go over to Grant's screen now, that's the original raw photo, and we're going to see what he can do. What software are you using today, Grant?
Okay, today I'm in Raw Therapy, the free program, because we don't have my favourite DxO on this machine. So that's fine. We can use this one, and
we'll probably get DxO on the computer at a later stage. So,
well, if the DxO people are watching and understand that they're the only ones that haven't let us use their software to date, they might want to rethink that.
Yep. So jump in there, Grant. Let's see what we can do with the photo now, and then your mouse is on my screen.
Okay, here we go. Right. Okay, so Brad,
just pause for a minute.
Yep.
What's the noise? The computer. So, take two.
Okay, and Brad, happy for you to jump in here and make suggestions as we go as well. I'm just going to start by being in Raw Therapy, and I haven't been in here for a little while, so I've got to re-familiarise myself. I'm just going to hit auto levels for a moment, and so, oh, wow.
Look at that.
Okay, well, that's interesting.
It is, isn't it? Look at the detail in the mountain that it's brought out.
That's really interesting.
Wow.
So what's it done? It's bumped the exposure 2.2. It's messed around a bit with the lightness, the contrast.
I have the benefit of looking at your original reprocessed one. It has brightened the sky up.
Yep.
And it's pulled a lot of detail out of your shadows, whereas your first one is very
little,
dark.
Very little detail, and that was
very little detail, whereas...
This was probably shot with a 10 megapixel camera back then. This was 2009, so 11 years ago we're talking.
Yep.
So I'm
Not
thinking.
bad. It's not a lot of. There's a little bit of grain in it,
Yep.
but it's not
Well, we
bad.
can
That's
we can
pretty
deal with
good.
that shortly.
Yeah.
I'm thinking that, to me, there's a couple of distracting elements here.
Yep.
One is the star trail beginning to happen in the sky.
Yep.
So we'd get rid of that, I think, by cropping,
Yep.
particularly under those brighter stars.
Sure.
And then we've got this bottom right-hand side.
Yep.
Now, the motorbike trail also is probably just a bit too bright in this.
Yep.
Do you think?
I'd agree with that. Yeah.
So,
I'd say that's probably lifted the levels just a touch high.
Touch too much.
But it's certainly giving you something to work with. That's what's really good.
So what if we hit highlight reconstruction here? What does that do? I'm going to turn that off again. I'm not really sure I'm seeing much.
Not a big change.
Exposure compensation, highlight compression. I'm going to pull the exposure back a bit, Brad. Back to about 1.8, 1.7. I'm liking that a little bit better.
Yep. Just dropped it back a bit, which is good. I would go with your cropping as well.
Yep.
I reckon, not to bag your original too much, Grant.
No.
I reckon the panoramic look will look really good.
Yep. There's not much done to that original one. So if we go into shadows and highlights here, if I pull this tonal width back, what happens?
I saw a slight adjustment on that when you did that.
I'm more.
It just dropped it back a bit by the looks.
Yeah, I'm just more concerned about that white, the lights in that white line going through the middle of it.
Yep.
So let's have a look.
I quite like the detail you got in the mountain in the background. Geez, what'd you push there?
Okay, tone mapping.
Tone mapping.
Okay, it's given us a bit more noise in the sky, but we can deal with that later.
Yep.
I don't mind that, Brad.
I like the detail in the mountains.
I don't mind that. It tones the reds down a little bit. Now, dynamic range compression, I think we'll leave that alone. This down here, this white line, the light line, the headlight line.
Yep.
You need to get rid of that a little bit.
Could you use a brush on that?
I don't think raw therapy gives me a brush.
Okay.
I think we've got to do it all. So it's an exposure item.
It's not a tool up on your toolbar there. There's no brushing or anything.
Not to my knowledge in this.
Okay.
This is resharpening, lens geometry, perspective, blah, 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 blah. But I haven't seen a brush tool in raw therapy. Here's our crop tool.
Yep.
So I can grab, hang on, unconstrained, please. Unconstrained, where are you? Lock ratio.
That's the one.
Unlock ratio. So I would think around about there, or a bit more sky. What do you think?
No, I quite like that. I mean, if you're going to go via the rules, that would be where the rules would say.
Sort of, rule of thirds.
Rule of
roughly.
thirds. Yep.
And you've got a bit happening at every intersection of the rule of thirds as well.
I would stick with that for the moment.
I'm still worried by that headlight line. That's still annoying me. And it's to talk in, if you're talking in competition language, it is a distraction really to the image. It's not really adding to the image. In my humble opinion. So, where can I pull you down? I wonder. If I drag you down, what happens? Okay, well, that didn't work too well. Dun, 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 dun. Yes, probably a brush tool is going to be the way to go, isn't it?
Well, in Lightroom, I would use a brush tool just on the lights.
Yep. Yes, that's what you would do, and I would do that the same in DxO. I would go straight there. But look, that's certainly not all bad.
And there's probably, hang on, what's... I wouldn't be surprised if there is a brush tool in this program.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be a matter of finding it. You continue on, Grant. I'm just going to keep looking here.
Yep, I'll just go and flip around some other.
Well, if you're wanting to, Grant, you can save that after you finish there. Save it.
Yep.
And I can quickly do it in Lightroom because it won't take me long to do that.
Yep. Well, let's do it because I want to show you something else here with that. So that certainly gives us a little, and then with the brush tool too, you'd be a little tempted to have a go at this bottom right-hand side. Would you or not, or would you leave that?
I'm wondering whether it's a bit too much black on
that's
the right-hand side.
You'd like to just pull it up just a smidge, wouldn't you? Shadows. So what if we lifted the shadows here? What does that do? Oh, that's doing something, Brad. Yes, but it's also...
You're probably going to get some colour noise in there if you go too far.
Yep. But that gives us a little bit of detail there now.
Yep.
Including a hot pixel down there.
Yep.
Okay, let's just stay with that. Let's go back up here. That's okay. Look, I'm going to save that.
Yeah, save the file, and I'll bring it into Lightroom. That way I can show the two versions as well.
So where am I saving it to? Put it back on that E drive?
Yeah, that'd be fine.
I'll put it back into... Where are you? PA testing.
You can put them in that edited folder.
I'll put them back here in oldies.
And then you have another folder.
Yeah, processed or something.
The processed ones. Yeah,
There
put
we
it in
go.
the processed.
Processed. And I'll give it a tag of RT.
Yep.
For raw therapy. There we go. So we got it.
I'd say it has it done.
No, it's doing it down the bottom. It's telling you. I think it's done now. Okay. Now, one other thing I want to very quickly do, Brad, with that.
Yep.
Now, this is a question for us. At what point should we apply noise reduction? Right at the end or earlier?
I always leave it fairly late in my processing.
Right, okay.
But
then,
I don't think there's any right or wrong to that, to be honest. That's what I mainly do is I leave it to the end.
Right. Well, let's flick it over to you then in Lightroom to have a go at that light trail.
Okay, so we're now onto my screen. So this, at the moment, we're still looking at Grant's original one, and now we just got to bring it in. So we'll go to import and process. There it is. I reckon the panorama, just looking at the icon here. So we want to add.
Isn't it interesting too what Jim said, how his workflow he's developed using many different programs.
Yes.
I thought that was interesting how everyone does something a little bit different and it works for them. And as your comment just now, there is really no right and wrong.
Yep.
I'm sure there is if you spoke to Adobe or the manufacturers of On One or whatever.
So-
they'd probably all claim
Yeah.
that there is a right and a wrong way, but yeah, everyone applies the rules just a little differently.
So scooch your chair over here, Grant, so you can have just a bit of a look at this. Poor old Grant's got a sore back at the moment.
Yep, I'm moving like a 100-year-old back.
So here we are with Lightroom at the moment.
Yep.
And
And on this screen, it's even lighter than
yes,
on my screen.
we've actually just put in another computer in here, so I'm yet to colour manage everything.
Yep.
You've just reminded me to do
And
it.
that's another episode, folks, where we'll walk you through profiling.
We'll actually do that as the episode. So,
Yep.
so we're up to that. So we've got a new machine in here which is working really good. But that's your original, and look at the detail difference that's pulled out. So what I would do here, if we go into develop, and if we grab an adjustment brush, and I'm going to just drop the exposure just down a little bit. Now it's going to look crude to start with, and just drop it off, and I can actually just target the highlights, so I'm not going to cause any issues there. And let's have a look here. We've got a few new tools in this Lightroom. We've got hue adjustments now on brushes, but we'll click done there, and the whole thing's a slightly bit bright, and
this, folks, is a really good education, a good example of getting your screen properly calibrated, because the screen I was looking at over here on the right hand side, just when I was processing this, was a lot darker than this screen. So yes, really important to get that calibration right.
It is, and we're operating on 3 screens here that are the same screens, but they differ even within the brand. They do differ slightly, so we'll be calibrating all 3 so that they match. But it is very, very important. So I'm just adding a bit of texture back into there, and we've got a bit of colour noise there, so I'm gonna.
I don't want you to do any noise reduction here.
Okay, I'll turn so it's Lightroom's completely off, and that's we can drop it a little bit more if you like. Grant's supposed to be processing this, not me. But is that the level? The level
team effort. Yep. No, I'm happy with that.
So we can just go back into library, and wrong way. So that's the original.
It's the original raw file.
Original process.
Original process. Sorry.
This is what you processed back in the day.
Back in 2009.
Yeah. Original process.
Okay.
And where we're at the moment.
It's a totally different image, isn't it? Totally different. Look at that. Yeah. Wow.
The panorama just the detail in the background there. It's a totally different photo, isn't it?
Totally different.
Oh, going the wrong way again. So, all right. Well, I've just done a bit of an adjustment there on the light. I wouldn't go too much, otherwise it becomes obvious.
Right.
So we can close. Actually, if you're gonna, I was just about to say that.
It operates as plugins. Does Topaz operate as plugins to that? Is that set up?
I don't know. So I'll export it as DNG. Or does it know DNG? I'll export it as TIFF.
TIFF will do.
So no compression. We're not resizing, and we're going to put it back in the specific source folder, which is in here, and photos, and where's PA? There it is, and oldies and processed. Select folder, and we're not putting into subfolder.
No, that's It's a TIFF, so we'll know.
Yeah, it's TIFF, so it'll be separate, and we'll click export.
Yeah.
So we're going to leave that episode right there. So thanks for watching. This will be a multi-part episode as well. And keep your eye out for the next one, because we actually get into some more interesting grounds by using topaz. So keep your eye out for it. If you haven't subscribed already, hit the subscribe button below. Details are in the description. Also, tell your friends about the channel as well. Help it grow, and we're here for you guys. So the more you get it out there, and also don't be afraid to let us know if you like us to do something, whether it be a particular topic. We're open to suggestions, so drop us a line if you've got any suggestions that you'd like to do. With that, we'll see you in the next episode. Bye bye.